Sophie, the last time you were with us, you talked about your wheelchair being damaged on a flight. Now, I know you had a huge public response, but somebody else was watching. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so the day after I got off loose, I got an email from Marion Fellows, MP, inviting me. She works at SNP, so she invited me to go to Parliament because one of her aides had been watching Loose. And she has a number of her constituents have disabilities, and she's the spokesperson for disabilities for SNP. And she said, want you to come in and talk about an accessible air travel campaign. So I was straight in there as quickly as I could be, to be honest with you. And so I went in, had a meeting with her, and we both agreed that the time was right for her to work her magic behind the scenes and for me to try and help with a campaign. So today we are launching the Rights on Flights campaign.
Good name.
Good name. Which I have to say I'm really excited about, because the last time I sat here I sort of said I don't want to be sitting here complaining anymore. I really want to be doing something about this. So Marion and her team and I and a number of other experts have been working on what are the buttons that we can press, where can we see change. Now, the long-term goal that we really have our eyes set on is to one day redesign an aircraft so that a wheelchair user can travel in their chair on board a plane. And just like you do on a train, right? So have a wheelchair-accessible toilet, have a space, etc. We've been told that's possible, but it's just going to take a lot of work. And don't get me wrong, we're not going to let anything stop us. This is going to happen at some point. And I'm not alone. There are other campaigners around the world working towards this, and people within the industry, I should add, all working towards this goal. But it's going to take some time. So the short-term goal that we're calling on today, Marion has written a letter that's asking for the government to give the Civil Aviation Authority the power to impose fines when an airline or any of the other parties involved fail disabled people. So say they leave us on board an aircraft for too long. These stories you might have seen in the news.
Which is shocking, actually.
Yeah, it happens so often. So being left on board for too long, if your wheelchair gets damaged or your equipment gets damaged, like mine did, or if the assistance just doesn't turn up and isn't appropriate.
So you can be left on the plane for hours.
Oh, yeah, it happens.
May I ask you how you're breaking it down, though? I mean, a lot of stuff gets damaged, with handlers and so on. And do you lay some of the blame anyway, the handlers, when they're loading your
Absolutely
chair?
So this isn't just a call out to the... so what we're trying to ask is the Civil Aviation Authority doesn't currently have the power to impose fines when any of these things go wrong. And what we're asking is that they are given the power so that when somebody, whether it's the handlers, whether it's the assistance staff, whether it's the airline, whoever is involved, when they do let us down, there are consequences. Because at the moment, the only people that really suffer is us.
Yeah.
And it's putting disabled people off flying. You've got some horror stories, I hear.
Yeah, no, but first of all, because you mentioned the CAA there, you're pushing at an open door there by the looks of it. A spokesperson for them says, we welcome more powers and have regularly asked for stronger consumer enforcement powers, including the ability to impose fines on airlines. And of course, I mean, the trouble is, we all do think it's just the airline, don't we? But actually getting a flight off the air and whatever takes about 9 different organisations. So it's really just getting everybody around the table and finding a way through it. And as you say, sort of finding a way to trickle down and get to the nub of the matter.
Yeah, and give it, almost just say that there's a bit of a deterrent. This isn't the best solution. This isn't it's just a way of saying disabled people won't tolerate this abuse anymore, that we have a voice, we will be heard.
What stories do you have?
And we really want to say to the industry, look, stop this happening.
Yeah.
Let's work together to make change.
I know you had a big response. I know you had a big response, and we did a shout-out to viewers as well. So, Helen, my daughter is disabled. We've been left on many occasions on the plane, waiting for the lift to get us down. They tried to make my daughter, who's 5, travel on her own on the bus to the plane.
Oh,
Every time we fly, we have problems. Adam, as an electric wheelchair user, air travel is pretty much impossible due to the risk of chair breakages or having it go missing. I mean, this is the point, isn't it? It's like it's a lottery at the moment, and it should be that you get on a flight like the rest of us do, thinking, right, I'm going to have a little drink, I'm going to watch a film, this is part of the enjoyment, and not be thinking, when I get off this plane, and it's like somebody breaking our legs. If they take your chair away, what are you going to do?
You got it, Jane. That's exactly what we try and say. This is more than just our wheelchairs are our legs. They're our independence. They're our lives. They are so important. But, ultimately, when we are not able to travel in our chairs, our independence is removed from us. But it's so much more than that right now. I think people don't quite understand the complexities of having to fly with a disability, that often because we aren't able to go to the toilet, for example, by ourselves, people are starving themselves, they're dehydrating themselves, they are, or actually what we also need to think about is that there's a whole group of disabled people that actually aren't even flying at all.
Yeah.
So they are too scared and they can't go. So we've got to think about that too. And so the data's also a little bit skewed because we don't really know, because some people aren't flying at all. So this is a really exciting day. I really wanted this to be the first step in this long journey to change, that we're going to give the Civil Aviation Authority, that hopefully the government will do this, and we're going to circulate this letter from Marion Fellows for 2 weeks, and then we're going to put it in front of the Prime Minister, and hopefully that will be the first step. He will give the Civil Aviation Authority
and we're all behind you.
Yeah.
So watch this space.
Yeah. Well, a Department of Transport spokesperson has said these incidents are simply unacceptable. We have been clear on the standards we expect from the aviation industry. We have sought views on protections for disabled airline passengers, and we'll set out our response in due course. So, I mean, at the minute, they're obviously relying on guidelines, and what you want is regulation or legislation. Yeah, fantastic. Well done.
Well done.